All right, folks, we are in here for another international break, but the Toon Army, the Toon Train doesn't stop going. And tonight we've got our special guest, Mitch, and we're also going to be talking all things Newcastle United. We're going to be talking all things transfers and player profiles. And you guys know we've been part of this has all been part of a journey we've been talking about for Newcastle United around. We've been doing some of our own kind of predictions for the summer coming up. What would make, hopefully from a financial point of view, but also obviously from a squad point of view, what's going to make Newcastle competitive, and hopefully continue to win cups as we did earlier. So, guys, strap in, get ready, and let's talk all things Newcastle United, folks. All right, Mitch, good to see you, sir. How are you? How are you? How are you?
Very well, thank you. How's things with you, sir?
Living life to the full. Living life to the full. Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, exactly. Delighted to be back on. Loved it last time. Here again.
Good. And folks who have joined us here today already, I hope you are all having a blessed evening and a blessed day. Wherever you're listening to, whether you're about to go to sleep or you're waking up, about to do a late night shift, or maybe you're in Australia about to just waking up or whatnot, whatever you're doing, you could have been anywhere here in the world, but you're here on Toon Tactics TV. So good to have you on. We've got folks in the comments already. John Boy, good to see you, sir. Hope you are blessed. Evening, Philip and Mitch. Evening to you, sir. Queen of Heart, good to see you. Good to see you, Queen of Heart. How is everyone feeling? Hit that like, yes, folks. Yes, do hit that like. Good for reminding me, folks. I don't say that enough. If you can, hit the like button and do sub, especially if you're new. But folks, I want to kick things off. I was a bit conscious last time. I feel like I was rushing things a little bit, but we had so much content for folks, and you guys were incredible in the chat. So I wanna get into things as soon as possible. So essentially, obviously, we're talking all things transfers, player profiles, and that's what we're planning to do today. And we're going to be talking about essentially two positions that we know, two out of the four positions that we know that Newcastle are looking at. And I'm actually going to go for a background story to remind folks, but we know that, for instance, from some of our tier one journalists, that Newcastle are looking for four positions: striker or forward, a right winger, centre back, and goalkeeper. So those are the positions that we're covering in terms of player profiles and everything else. You guys know from before that I think Newcastle need a versatile midfielder because of potential player sales of Sean Longstaff. But we won't touch on that just yet. But today, we're going to be talking all things centre backs and right wing forwards. So guys, you know we can only do it together, and always you guys' opinions, you guys' views, you guys' comments are of value. Makes the show what it is. So make sure you join in. Aaron Cave, good to see you, Mr. Consistency. Evening to you, sir. Evening to you. All right. So before I do get into that, because I did speak a little bit about our journey of where we're coming from, what we're saying. Just to remind folks, I'm going to kind of do a whistle stop tour. Am I sharing my mic? No, I'm not sharing it. Here we go. Let's put this on. Let me remind folks what I mean. Oh, did I take off Mitch? I did take off Mitch. Can I put it on? No. You gotta. Okay, maybe this is it. Yes. All right. Brilliant. I'm going to go backwards to go forwards. You guys will remember that. Keeping the fire burning. So when we're talking about in all the preparation that we're having in terms of going in towards this summer transfer window, we first kind of, in our previous shows, we talked about identifying kind of the main issues with the current squad, and it's all good. Obviously, we've just won the League Cup. We are a point from fourth place at the moment. We're in the hunt for that Champions League, but we know that the squad doesn't, the building doesn't stop there, and we know that there were things that we identified. The main thing, is obviously we talked about was. This is the squad after 33 games. The main thing was around the limitations in our squad rotation. So you can see this is after 30 plus games. This is just after the January window, where essentially where the part of the limits of our squad is that we were highly dependent on 9 players playing the majority of minutes all the time, and we had a very limited amount of players playing either between 15 to 2,000 minutes and 1,500 to 1,000 minutes. So there was a very strong limitation in terms of players coming in, rotating with the first squad. And if you compared it, for instance, to Liverpool's, where they have a core of 4 players that play, but they've got a number of different categories of players. We've got another 9 that played just a little bit less minutes, another 4 that played a little bit less minutes than that. But they had a real kind of key rotation in their squad that allowed them to compete on all 4 fronts. And we looked at Bayer Leverkusen's squad as well in Germany, who obviously went invincible and were able to do that because they had higher rotations in our squad. Now we know that this isn't by design. We know that obviously for the past 3 transfer windows, we haven't been able to buy a first team player. So that is a big thing. So going into this transfer window, hence why Newcastle are putting it out into the ether in terms of especially our top tier journalists that, hey, we're looking for 4 positions. So that is the main thing that we're talking about. And those 4 positions, as always, as they've made it out, especially to your Luke Edwards from the Telegraph, to Craig Hope from the Daily Mail, and to Mark Douglas from the newspaper, all of whom I see as our tier 1 journalists and have real connections to Newcastle United and the links and the owners and the various staff there. And it's been the message has always been the same, which is we're looking for 4 positions: centre forwards, right wing, centre forward, right wing, centre backs, and goalkeeper. And we already know, for instance, from Craig Hope, he's gone out on a limb essentially to say hey, they're expecting James Trafford to be our next goalkeeper. Should everything go without a hitch? That's as far as a journalist, and we know will go nowadays in terms of saying, hey, this is 100% right, because he knows if James Trafford doesn't come, he's going to get a whole load of stick. We also broke down, no matter who the players are, if we get 4 players into those different positions, what could our squad, for instance, look like after the same amount of games that we saw earlier, around 30 plus games? We will have about four players that we're highly dependent upon. We'll have another 7 players of key contributors, another 7 of squad rotations. If you get a forward, right winger, centre back, and goalkeeper, we'd have a lot more rotation in our squad. I felt because of the players that I thought that would get sold, part of them obviously would be Harvey Barnes. I say obviously, but part of the players I think would be Harvey Barnes, Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff has been a midfielder. That's where we lack a little bit of coverage. The other positions that Harvey Barnes is, I feel like we can put, if we, for instance, got a forward, we'll probably get a forward who can play in the 9, but can possibly also play on the left side. And even if we get a right wing forward, it'll probably be someone who can play across the front 3. It's not so much the same for Sean Longstaff's position. And I feel like we need a versatile midfielder with more kind of in the similar-ish profile of a Tonali, especially his recovery pace and his ability to tackle. So that's why I got Marcus Tavernier there. That's just my kind of thoughts. And that's the person that was also linked to us. So that's and so that's like the squad side. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about right wing forwards or right wingers and centre backs. So we're going to get into that. But I wanted to add as well. Obviously, we talked about building the squad from the financial perspective, and the other thing that we outlined in previous shows was considering the players that Newcastle have been linked before. And I did this twice. This first time we kind of estimated what Newcastle are likely to spend in the summer. The first time I did it, I felt that Newcastle, in order to get the 4 players they want, would have to spend about 133 million pounds in order to do that. And we kind of guessed that from the players that Newcastle had been linked with. And you guys can see I got Magnus Akliush, who we talked about before, and we're going to talk about him today again, and Patrick Mbeumo. So I chose Magnus because he was linked to us, but in terms of the valuation at the time, he was one of the lower fees that we were looking at. And obviously, Mbeumo is probably the highest in terms of fee that Newcastle have been looking at. And I said, okay, what's the average between that? So it's about 30 million. And we did the same thing for the centre back, we did the same thing for the goalkeepers and the forwards, and we kind of averaged it out to around 133 million. I did it again. I did the same kind of thing again, fast forwarding, because obviously we've had new links as well. And we know certain other positions are more solidified, like the goalkeeper position. But obviously, Dean Huijsen has been linked to us. Asana Diao who plays right wing has been linked to us, and Mbeumo has been consistent. But the main thing that's changed for me in terms of like looking at the transfers and the likely spend is the striker or the forward position. So whereas before I was saying, hey, I was guessing and thinking maybe we look at a João Pedro and Hugo Ekitike, who are kind of personal favourites of mine, to have real actual squad depth and competition with Isak. But after kind of reevaluating certain things around finances and links, we've been more linked to players that are more or less quite raw talents, similar to an Osola type, but with more minutes. So your Tieno Barrys, your Emmanuel Mekas. So the valuation for me, kind of going forward in terms of the transfer window, has lowered a bit. So it's gone from 133 million to 112-ish million. But I'm going to keep that range kind of going forward as well. So we talked about that as well. So what does that mean? And finally, what does that mean? What does that mean? We talked about the financial side, and I was saying to Mitch in the background, I was doing my armchair finances, and we kind of essentially based it on couple things. One was obviously Newcastle's latest release in the financial statements, the analysis of those financial statements from expert financial guys like Swiss Ramble. So Swiss Ramble is the big one, and using AI to kind of be able to explain those things. But the things, I wasn't going into I wasn't doing no Kieran Maguire kind of thing. Like the main questions I wanted to know was, how much can Newcastle spend on the transfer, if they were to, in the transfer window, and how much can they spend to ensure that they give themselves at least a 10 million pounds financial headroom. That 10 million pound meaning, so we know that we can go over our limit, in terms of our losses by 105 million. So how can we do it safely within a 10 million pound headroom? So to do that safely for Newcastle, to do that and to spend. So for instance, if Newcastle were to spend 112 million pounds, which is the new kind of guesstimate that I have for Newcastle's transfer window, Newcastle would have to sell around 30 million pound worth of players. And if we're going to go, obviously the higher you go, the more sales you have to make in order to make sure that Newcastle don't breach their PSR. So if Newcastle do end up spending about 130 plus million, Newcastle would have to make about 50 million pound in sales. So I kind of used AI, Swiss Ramble, and Newcastle's financial statements to make that guess. And we talked about on this chat, who were the priority players that Newcastle would like to sell. And we've obviously outlined Sean Longstaff and Harvey Barnes, because those are the guys who have consistently been named, especially by the I newspaper in particular, obviously Mark Douglas, who's there. And we know that's the journalist who's had an hour and a half sit down with Mr. Paul Mitchell. And so we're quite, we've put Sean Longstaff and Harvey Barnes as quite high in terms of likely to be sold, and we'll be able to make some money. We obviously kind of guessed what we think Newcastle, some of the valuations for those guys, which will allow us to make money back. I've got Matt Target at the top as well, because he's time for him. he's obviously for performances and everything else. He's one of the people that I've got to be sold, and the list goes lower and lower. So that leads us on to today. So I wanted to be able to give that kind of background because obviously we've been talking about who our current squad, what the gaps are going to be, if Newcastle were to sell players, for instance, what's that going to mean? And to make sure that if we sell, yes, we're adding players and we're selling players to be financially responsible, that's going to leave gaps, but we want to be able to create a squad that's robust. And when I say robust, meaning that we can compete on all four fronts. So I wanted to do that whistle stop tour for the folks that have been here from the from the journey began before and seen the shows previous, and guys, you can go back as well to be able to see that. I wanted to kind of provide that sort of background before we before we go into tonight's show, and we're talking about the players that Newcastle United could potentially buy. And like I mentioned, we're going to be looking at centre backs and right backs. Right backs and right wing forwards. So, Mitch, that is where we're coming from and on to today.
Yeah.
So we're kind of. I was thinking. So we've got a choice. I'll leave it up to you and the chat. Who do you want to start off with? Do you want to start with? Well, first of all, does all of that make sense?
Yeah. All makes perfect sense.
Does that make sense?
All makes perfect sense. To be fair, I must have missed a couple of the shows because I was looking through and there was a few little bits you were saying that I hadn't picked up on previously. So yeah, I'll have to jump back.
I'm glad. Excellent. And I've got a few people in the chats as well. So hopefully as well, folks are also up to date. And while I go through the chats, Mitch, I want you to think about who do you want to start with, the centre backs or the right wingers, and we'll go with that as well. And so we'll go with that. So let me see what the chats are saying. Queen of Heart, we've seen Wobojo, good to see you as an Arsenal fan. Really blessed to have folks that are not Newcastle fans coming onto the channel. It's really a blessing to have folks like doing that. For Wobojog says for CB, there is a free one coming up this summer. Just saying. Who's that?
Is that Van Dijk?
Oh, Van Dijk. Do you know what? I think the internet would shatter if Van Dijk came to Newcastle. It would absolutely shatter. The banter would be forever. Like it would be like Van Dijk just comes out with, and he's got like a tattoo of the Time Bridge on his chest that people didn't know about, and his father was like a lifelong Newcastle fan, and he's kept it hidden all these years. That would be incredible. John Boy, I'm confident Mitchell will come up with the goods here. Yeah. It might not be the people we think, but I'm sure he has a few in mind, and he'll have been working flat out. He better had anyway. Yeah, absolutely. I never asked you, Mitch. What's your kind of thoughts on Paul Mitchell, and do you kind of share John Boy's confidence that indeed we will get the right players or the right profile of players for the team, for the squad?
I think we will, because his track record says it all, and our track record says it all. So if you put the two things together, I think it'll be a slightly different profile to what we've been getting previously. I think we'll see either more players coming in or more links to players that aren't Premier League proven. And a little bit younger, a little bit off the radar, but still with a very high ceiling. So a few of those would be good.
Yes.
But we also need to add a few that we know are going to make impact from the start. So hopefully if we get a blend of what we've been getting, what Mitchell brings and what we've already been doing with your Brunos, your Tonalis, your Botmans, as much as they weren't like massive names, they had already done it in a top league somewhere for a decent amount of time. We need to mix the two together to build the squad rather than just focusing on one or the other.
No, exactly. And the thing we did a little show on Paul Mitchell before and obviously you're right, his track record is phenomenal. People obviously we've spoken a little bit about Liverpool, but who discovered Ibrahim Konate? It was Paul Mitchell. That's just like a breadcrumb of the players that we're talking about here. And does my sound a bit different? Anyway, but yes, here we go. And we're going to have, I'm quite excited about that because we as Newcastle fans know that we haven't, apart from the last 3.5 years, obviously, but also more kind of that kind of style of players coming in, you know, those raw gems and kind of seeing them develop. I haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a long time. So I'm personally really looking forward to that. Maybe that's why I'm fairly calm about the profile of players that we're going to get. No, I don't want to lose players, and you know, I want Bruno G to. I suspect if we are going to lose a big hit, for instance, it might be Bruno G. I really hope not, but I'm also relatively calm because I just don't feel like we've got the right people. I had a video I wanted to show if I get the chance of someone. I forgot who the gentleman is, but he's someone that's worked with Eddie Howe before, for instance, and he was talking about how Eddie Howe is really he's even more detailed than the scouts in terms of the players that he's bought, and I think it's evident for the players that we've got in the team. That's true. Queen of Heart, John Boy, agree fully. So many sides in Premier League want Isak. Oh, mate, goodness me, want Isak, but he's doing so well for us currently.
They're going to want him even more after tonight. He got a top draw.
Oh, mate, it's just becoming fun now. It's just like, did you see the assist as well?
Yeah.
Goodness,
not quite as amazing as the Everton one, but it's still ridiculous. It's still ridiculously good.
And he's going to come into that kind of form. Hey, it's going to be incredible. And I always remind people that when we bought him for 65, 70 million, and obviously that season at La Liga, he just finished with 5 goals that season, and people were laughing, saying, who have Newcastle bought? And they keep on laughing. Literally, I don't know how many times we've had transfer windows and they call our transfer windows underwhelming. Like the first 5 players we bought, Kieran Trippier, Wood, Target, Bruno, Burn. I know they don't lift off the page, but they're still here.
They've done the job they needed to do at the time.
Exactly. Chris Wood is like one of the top 5 strikers in the Premier League now. So I don't know what else to say, guys. I don't know. Maybe just, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to the Newcastle scouts. All right. Aaron Kane, Antonio Mango did a terrific video earlier about a player called Jeremy Jacquet. Very robust, has all the attributes to succeed, would happily spend less if it means we can spend more in other areas. Yeah, I absolutely. And I think they'll be looking for that. I think that's why, obviously, we spoke about Trincao in our last show, Mitch. And we both love the player, but also his price, his valuation, because he's in the final year of his contract, is around 10. Well, it was in January around £15 million or so. I don't know if you saw, but he's done really well for Portugal as well. So, and I think there's going to be a few players but those type of players, those kind of deals. Mark Gahey, who we're not talking about today, but he's in the final year of his contract. I think they're going to get good deals in those areas. I'm going to do a few more comments as well before we go into the players. I'm really excited to talk about the players as well. So, Bobby Fairview, good to see you, sir. Bobby, remind me, I think you're a Chelsea fan. Great to have, always happy to have you on, especially because I feel like being a Newcastle fans, most of us, we're going to be biased. We're going to have our tinted windows on. So it's good to have folks that are going to be a bit more objective on as well. Bless up, Philip, and guest. It's Mitch. Mitch, I don't know if you got on your title. Do I have to put on the titles? If it's my fault. But usually you can put your name in the titles as well. Bless up, Philip, and guest. Big up the chat. Yes, sir. Good to have you on. God bless you. Queen of Heart, Bobby Fairview. Yeah, wishing each other, greeting each other very good. Adrian Pickett, good to see you, sir. 6 players isn't asking to. Yeah, well, if we get 6 players, it's gonna have. Hopefully, we'll do it in a sensible way, and we're okay. I sound like a bit too like I put in a dampener on it, but I just don't want to go through another 3 transfer windows without buying anyone. So
I genuinely believe this is going to be the big one. This is going to be the one where we really see what we can actually do in the transfer market properly.
Yes.
The first one where we're really going to nail our colours to the mast and go, right, this is it. We're making the next jump now.
And the League Cup win shows potential players that we're going after that you can win stuff here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if Eddie Howe and everybody, Mitch will be telling them, hey, we haven't bought a first team player in 3 transfer windows. You're going to be part of the same first batch of players or group of players that we're bringing in. So if we're winning cups now, what are the potentials of what we can do with you coming in? Where can we go to next? And again, if we add Champions League to that, and look what Isak. Do you want to? If you're a forward, we're going to be talking about obviously right wingers today. Would you like to play next to Isak and Anthony Gordon? Yeah, why not?
Also, it'll be one of them. Look at how the players are now treated. We've won something. Even before something, players were heroes. Now we've won something. Look at the reaction from the whole city.
Exactly.
Or behind the team from winning the trophy. And if we win more, it'll happen more.
There is no other fan love like Newcastle fan love. I'll tell you that, and I think they'll see that. Queen of Heart, would you sell excessive goalkeepers in the summer? Do you mean like the players that I don't know if you mean Queen of Heart? Obviously, we've got a few players, the goalkeepers at the moment. I think, for instance, Ruddy, he's in the roll-on contract. He's probably gonna go. Vladik Harmos is a mysterious PSR situation. We try to the less we talk about the better. Like a conspiracy. I can only I'll put it under the category of conspiracy for Vladik Harmos. We tried to move him on to Saudi Arabia. He didn't want to go. I don't know what's wrong, but yes, Queen of Heart. I think we'll probably see at least 2 goalkeepers go. We'd want to keep 4, so I'm assuming an academy player will come on, and obviously a first-team goalkeeper. I think, and I'm going off of what Craig Hope is saying, will be James Trafford. So yes, Queen of Heart. Adrian Pick, Vladik Harmos must be worth 10 million to someone. Maybe someone in Saudi Arabia. Oh my god! Oh gosh! John Boy, Man City have a buyback clause with Trafford. They do. I don't think they're going. I hope they don't exercise it. For 40 million, that they'll trigger it, but they might keep him in reserve. They got buyback clauses in so many good players. Natalie, good to see you. Natalie Wilkinson, good evening, folks. Good to see you, Natalie. God bless you. Got a few more here. Right centre back, right winger, and goalkeeper are the positions where I would go big. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Sophie B, good to see you. Sophie B, God bless you. Good evening, Philip. God bless you. Sophie B, good to see you. Got a few folks here from where the outsleep from your show. Is that evening or is that you, Mitch?
That's me, yeah.
Good to see you. Oh wow. All right, folks. I've got so many. I don't want to. No, let me do it. Queen of Heart, even Audi. You guys are wishing each other well. I like to see that, folks. I think we sold Dubs to Saudi in the summer. Ooh, that's a good. You know what? We did give him a new contract, but is that so we can get a little bit of money? Oh, and then we keep home.
He might be the one that stays, you know.
He might,
what Blackademus wants to do and how much we rate him. Because if we rate him to be a number 2, I think we'll keep Pope will go, I think.
Do you reckon? Then, 10 million, I think they're looking at him.
Sell one of the Bravco of Vlachodimos. I think if we rate Vlachodimos enough to say he can be our number 2, we'll sell the Bravco. If not, Vlachodimos will go and we'll bring one in.
Do you know why I don't think we rate Vlachodimos? He didn't play in any of the FA Cups, in any of the League Cups. I don't think he played in any League Cups. Like any of the kind of...
One actual competitive game for us. I can't remember what game it was, but I think that was just because we had injuries.
Yeah, that we would not even have known the name Vlachodimos had it not been for our PSR situation, selling Elliot Anderson and the whole, I'm going to call it conspiracy, with Nottingham Forest. We'll leave it there. All right, Natalie Wilkinson, Harvey Barnes to sell. Yes, I think we should keep him as impact player, but also dependent on these last 10 games. Hold that thought, Natalie, and I know what you mean as well, because we did talk about him a little bit in the previous one, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more in this one because we're going to be talking about forwards and right wing forwards. But yes, I know what you mean. I suspect because for Harvey Barnes, is he happy to be an impact player? Some people are not. You may change your mind, or he may, excuse me, when I say you, I mean him. He may change his mind now that Newcastle are winning cups if we go to the Champions League. But he's in his prime age. he's not better than Anthony Gordon. Like he's just not better than Anthony Gordon. He's not gonna if you've got a choice between a higher flying Anthony Gordon and a higher flying Harvey Barnes, it's going to be Anthony Gordon. But if you're a player that's playing for a successful team, which Newcastle are and are certainly on the way to being that, you might be willing to sit down. But I also think that the profile of me personally, I know what you think, Mitch, and what you think, Natalie, is importantly as well. I think Harvey Barnes, he's more of a he's more, what's the way I can describe him? He's more of a classical forward in front of goal. Whereas I think my personal opinion is Newcastle are looking for dribblers and technicians who can sometimes bring the ball out from the middle of the park and drive up. Or if teams are in the low block and we're trying to break teams down, you need players that can go either side and have the ability to dribble past players. I suspect that's what Newcastle are going for because of the kind of the technical quality. I don't know what your thoughts are, Mitch. Do you think we should keep Harvey Barnes, or do you kind of see maybe a different player coming in? What's your thoughts?
I think that's sort of in Harvey Barnes' court. Like you said, I think if he's happy to be the impact player, then I think we should, because he's not at Anthony Gordon's level, but his goal scoring ability is above Anthony Gordon. So if we see a drop off from, say, Isaac in his goals, he's someone that can come in and still bring us goals from the wide positions. And I think he's the only one that could consistently do that from us from a wide position to get us a decent amount of goals. I wouldn't back any of the others to get more than, say, 10 to 12 goals a season, whereas Harvey Barnes, if you create him enough chances, could get you the higher end of the teams in goals-wise every season.
Yeah, and he looked good, especially in the final, playing through the middle. He was a bit more through the middle. And
a lot closer to it, wasn't it? He was playing sort of out of possession, he was wide, but then in possession, he was sort of playing as a second striker, wasn't he?
Yes, and that's how Newcastle set. Even Gordon does that. Like almost when we're out of possession, we're in a 4-4-2. Gordon and Isak, and like you're right. When we're in possession, kind of going out wide, going into the central areas. And our last part was going to add to that. You're not going to find the level of depth between an Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes in many other teams. So I take the point of, if we are going to go for a replacement of Harvey Barnes, you don't want to lose that depth. You still want someone that will carry that forward.
Like when Gordon was missing from the final, it was like, crap, he's missing, but Barnes is there. It was a little bit annoying, but it wasn't like we've now not got no threat on the left-hand side. So
yeah.
Good to have that kind of depth there. We need to keep it. That's the whole point of having a squad, that the drop-offs aren't massive.
Absolutely, guys. I promise I just scrolled down, the chat is going. So I'm going to start now. You're going to have more to talk about, but I want to be able to cover the players well, and I want to give you guys plenty to kind of feast on when we're talking about the players themselves. So, Mitch, where do you want to go to? Do you want to go to the centre backs first, or do you want to discuss the right wingers that we talked about first? Let me know.
We go for the right wingers.
Okay, let's do it.
From the last show, carry on, same position, more right wingers. Let's do it.
All right, so let me get myself forward. Now, first, well, we're going to talk about two. Can you guys see that? Have I got the right one up?
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about two right wingers today, folks. We're going to talk about, my hat's getting hot. We're going to talk about Noni Madueke, and we're going to talk about Magnus Akliush. So Noni, we're going to start off with Magnus, but I wanted to mention that Noni Madueke has come up on media outlets, especially in the last few days, on Give Me Sport and by Dean Jones, from Give Me Sport, from Dean Jones, and from, I forgot the other outlet. It was more in the sense of them saying, hey, Newcastle were looking to bid for him in the summer. They're also looking at him in January, and it's likely that they're looking for him now, rather than them saying, hey, we've got emerging news, like Newcastle looking to to go for money again. So, but that's partly I want to remind folks that that's the player we're looking for as well. And like I said, he's come up on the media outlets. And Magnus Akliushin, the folks will know on this channel. I'm also quite a big fan of Magnus Akliushin. I know that yourself, Mitch, you want to talk about him today. So let me know what you want to do, Mitch. Like I said, I'll start with Magnus. I will go a little bit through these are tiny, the stats there are tiny, but what they're meant to say is, this is from the FB Ref stuff, and we're going to do a little bit of a profile on him, and Mitch will get your take, and I will show a few clips of him. But essentially, let me first, before I actually do the player profile, because there's a little bit of background on Magnus I want to make sure that we don't leave out, which I'll get from transferwindow.com. But while I do that, Mitch, let me know what do you yourself know about Magnus? Have you seen him play? What's your kind of initial take on him?
So he's someone I've seen play a couple of times now. And the first time I watched him play, I need to find out more about this guy, because I hadn't heard anything about him before. I'd never heard his name. And he just looks like a perfect fit for what we need on that right-hand side. He's got a little bit of everything about him. He's got a little bit of pace. He's got trickery. He can go both ways. Yeah. I think he'd be dangerous in our squad on the opposite side to Gordon and playing alongside Isak, because he comes in. He likes to play little 1-2s, and Isak loves to do that as well. He just looks the perfect fit to me. And I've done like we said last week. I've done my Dennis Wires. I've watched all kinds of different videos of this kid. And out of all of the right wingers or right wing forwards, whatever you want to call them, that I've looked at, for me, this is the one. It's like when we was looking at TK previously, I was watching him and I was thinking, yeah, this is the guy. Go and get this guy. And now my mind is set on this one, because Ekatike, as much as I'd still love him to come in, he plays through the middle, and I'm not sure how well it translates to going out wide. So you need someone at a level sort of below that now that Isak's thriving. But this guy, everything I watched, I was just like, yes, bring him in.
I'm very similar to yourself, Mitch. I've folks will know that we've been watching a lot of Monaco games as well, because obviously they've been playing in Europe, but also in France. We've got a few players that we're interested in France at, but I agree. Magnus is very exciting to watch. So for folks, can you guys see the screen? Hope it's big enough as well. Can you see it, Mitch?
Yeah.
Excellent. So Magnus is 23 years old. He turned 23 in February the 25th, so only just last month. So it's very much in our age bracket. As Mitch said, he's a right winger who can play through the middle as well. And obviously he plays for Monaco. He last extended his contract in 2024 in July, so it runs out in 2028. So when we first started looking at Magnus, he was around 20-25 million euros. That's gone up. That's gone up to 40 million euros. So around 35. And to be fair, it's a fair valuation, because, in my opinion, because as folks would see here, he's a France international. He's been playing from the under 21s, under 20s, under 21s, now under 23s. I don't think he's made it to has he made it to the senior squad? Oh yeah, he has. He's made it to the senior squad now as well. In July 2024. So that adds to his resume, but also he's very much a first teamer for Monaco in that right wing position. So this year he's played 1,700 minutes, 24 games, 4 goals, 6 assists. So it's about 10 goal contributions in 24 games, which is not bad at all. So no, he's played he's played overall, if you add all the trophies, all the cup competitions, he's played in 2,600 minutes this season, which is really, really, really good. And that includes 10 matches now in the UEFA Champions League, where he scored 2 goals and made 2 assists. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I've watched a couple of those games as well. What was there? There was something else I wanted to add about him. So his he started off as a Monaco youth. So he's been at Monaco probably all of his life. 2017, he's 23 now. What's that make? 8 years, 17 years old. Is it 17 years old? Oh, got my maths wrong. 17, 14. He's been at Monaco since 14, 13. Played for the under 19s, for the B team. So he was there during the time of Paul Mitchell. So Paul Mitchell will know all about Mr. Magnus Akliouche as well. So we want to be able to add that sort of background as well onto him. So at 23 years old, he's already got European experience. He's already got plenty of first team football experience. He's also playing at international level. Like he's pretty much there. Mitch, I'm gonna bring up his what I've got from his profile so far. Now, this is the stuff that I got from Mr. Akliouche's FB ref stats, and I kind of used AI to be able to help us to profile him as well. We've done previous, because it's a different way, because last time I did one from a scouting report. There's a couple of scouting reports. I want to add context to this, where because I've got a few favorite scouting reports that I read. I forgot the gentleman's name. I think it's Anthony, but maybe I've got it wrong. So I've read a couple. Most of them are very, very, how do I say, very positive on him, and they see him as a future French starlet. The one where I read that wasn't so had a couple comments around, and to be fair, it's probably about a year old, 18 months old, where it had a few comments about him, which I'll talk about in a moment. And so I was looking out for those things when I've watched him. So I got to see about 8 or 9 games of him. But in the last 365 days, which is the stats that FB Ref cover, so his main strengths are shot creating actions. So he's exceptional in those areas. So, and you'll see, for instance, if for anybody that's watched Magnus play from Monaco, predominantly, so Monaco probably top 4 teams in France at the moment. They have a lot of possession. So he is the key man in helping them break down low blocks, start attacks, assisting and creating creating actions as well. So they talked about that as well. So that's really, really important. They're really a high pressing team. So that's why one of his key strengths is tackling. So which suits Newcastle, because we need people to lead from the front. So he's strong in the tackles, especially in the middle third. He's in the 96th percentile compared to, and this is obviously in comparison to other attacking midfielders / right wingers. So he's like at the tip of the top for tackling, which is really, really good. Ball recovery, so again in the 92nd percentile, again in the elite areas where he's making essentially he's recovering the ball at least nearly 6 times, but 5 times per match as well, getting tackles in. It's in the 85 percentile for that. So he's a very hardworking player. The other strength is progressive play. He's excellent in progressive passing distances. So getting the ball up the play and the field. And people mentioned Antonio Mango, and he made this distinction between progressive passes and essentially passing the ball forward. And what we're talking about progressive play is essentially being able to move the whole team from one phase of the pitch to the other. So from defense to the midfield, or from the midfield to the attacking third. So he either does that really, really well, either through his passing or his ball playing ability. So he's excellent in progressive passing. He's in the 95th percentile for that. You can already imagine Isak would love to a player like that. And this is so progressive play includes progressive passing and progressive carrying. His big strengths are as well. I don't know, Mitch, if you saw that in the games that you've watched him play. Those kind of areas of strengths for him, his ability on the ball as well as his passing as well.
Yeah, he doesn't just progress by passing. He can drive the team up with the ball on his feet as well.
It's really delightful to watch in that area. Yeah, and high passing, high. Yeah, we'll talk about as well into the final third. And if there's one area that Newcastle can always work on, is passing in the final third. So being able to make sure that we can keep the ball in the opposition half. Mr. Akliouche is the man for that. Weaknesses they talked about was short passing, so lower in short pass. But you can read, as I mentioned, you have to look at Monaco. Monaco are an offensive team. They spend a lot of time in the opposition halves, in my opinion, from what I've seen them play as well. So his short passing is going to be, he's not going to necessarily, and where he plays in the area of the pitch, it's not part of Monaco's play. They're not like who can I think of, like a Man City passing sideways type of thing and creating angles. They're fairly direct, and he's a direct type of player. So the other weaknesses, according to FBref, though, is offensive output, which is interesting. So they find that he's average in shot creating actions is around 70. So when he does lower, it gets into the 75% now. I still think that's okay. So, and they kind of feel like that he has a limited attacking impact, which is interesting. I disagree with that, but they are stats. They put dribbling, which I don't know, but actually I'll go back to that. They put dribbling as moderate and successful. So he's in successful dribbles in the 75th percentile, indicating room for improvement and beating defenders. And that touches on the scouting report that I read about, which is probably about a year old, 18 months old, where when they talked about his dribbling, and the video that I'll show will probably make it look like, well, what's the problem with his dribbling? Pretty good. What they found was that he's left-footed, and they found him incredibly left-footed, right? So I don't want to mention Almiron, but
Almiron's solely left-footed. He doesn't know what to do on his right 99% of the time.
Exactly. But the defenders know that. Obviously, they do their research, and they know that he's left-footed, and a lot of his dribbling is based on him being on his left foot. And even when obviously the scouting report that I read got really technical around how he shields the ball, it becomes a little bit more difficult and clumsy for him when he has to rely on his right foot and when he has to use his body to be able to shield the ball. Now, this is 18 months ago. My hope is, or a year to 18 months ago, my hope is that maybe some of those things have been rectified. So player profile, he's an attacking midfielder / winger so he plays on the right wing. He can also play on the left, so he can play across the front three, can play in a false nine. And he's got the license to roam from what I've seen him play in terms of Monaco. He's got the license to roam and connect the midfield with the attack, depending on where I said Newcastle, depending on where Monaco are at. So if they're struggling to get the ball up front, he's got the license to drop into midfield, to collect the ball and to progress it as forward as possible. His playing style is very dynamic. He's defensively active midfielder. From a midfield position, he excels in transitional play with progressive passes and carries, which is right up Newcastle street. What we need in a player. He's got key traits: high work rate. I agree. Strong recoveries and tackles. Contributes to build up play with the progressive passing and carries in dangerous areas. He could improve, or areas of development are his short passing accuracy and increase his direct attacking contribution, so goals and assists. Well, we saw the stats. He's in the French league. He's got what did I say? Around he makes a contribution 1 every 2 games there. A little bit less in the Champions League. I don't think that's half bad in my opinion. But I don't know what your thoughts are, Mitch, on Magnus Akliushin, what you've read, what we kind of read so far in terms of his player profile.
It was like his output's probably, people will look at it for the French league and say, yeah, does that translate to England? But if you actually watch some of the games and even just some of the clips, he played some very good passes that then players don't really do anything from.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll clip a ball over the top and someone won't make anything of it. So that sort of kills his stats a little bit. When he's playing them balls through and it's either a Joe Linton, a Tonali, a Gordon, and Isak running onto it, there's more likelihood that it's going to come to something. So it's not just the fact that he's doing something wrong not to get the numbers. I think the team around him is affecting that as well. So I don't think you can solely look at numbers.
Yeah, especially
is it just looks like it suits perfectly for us. As much as I'd like him to go right a little bit more and use his right foot a little bit more, there is times where it gets to the point where teams show him left, and he does go right. So he seems quite intelligent of when he knows when he needs to just mix it up ever so slightly to not make it so predictable, which a lot of very left-footed players don't have that.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe, I don't know if I'm over-relying on this, I do think that once Eddie Howe gets his hands around a play like this, you're going to see a lot more. And you can only imagine what someone like that is like when he plays next to an Isak or a Gordon. You can only imagine that certain stats are going to go through the roof. Your assists are going to go through the roof. Your danger in front of the goal is going to look very, very good. And if you are dropping in midfield and you're connecting with Tonali and with Bruno, for instance, you know, they talked about how short passes might be an issue. It's not going to be an issue with those guys, no. Right? So you're right. I think you'll look a bit more different. So I spent a lot.
You'll probably also find more space, as weird as this sounds, in our team because, and especially initially, if he comes in, when he first comes in, teams won't be looking at him as the main threat. They'll still be looking at other players who to stop first. And he'll thrive off that, having other players that are taking the shine off of him. So he'll get his fullback more one-on-one a lot more time than he probably does at Monaco.
Exactly. They're not going to be like, especially when he first comes in, they're not going to be like, oh, there's Magnus. They're going to be like, oh no, there's Isak. And then there's Gordon. We'll worry about Magnus afterwards.
Even if he does good, you've got to worry about all of them at the same time. Exactly. And Gordon isn't really going to come, so they're always going to have to worry about the other guy.
Exactly. And I love what they said about his work rate because you have to work hard in this team as well. I'm going to read a few comments before we go into. We'll look a little bit of his clips, and we'll move on to Noni. Speaking of Noni, Sophie B is not a fan of Noni. Madueke is wow. I'll let you finish with that word. And I respect you, Sophie B. I really like your takes on players as well. So let me know why, Sophie. If you can, maybe you have. The comments are really ringing off today. But if you haven't already, Sophie, let me know why you're not a fan of Noni. Aaron Cave, my dream right wing signing is still Kubo. Okay. I don't know if you've seen Kubo and Mitch. Seen us re-linked with him. Salah-esque type of player who has played with Isak before. Yes, true. At Real Sociedad, played with Isak before, and he's just a magician. He is. He's really good on the ball. Excellent player. I just worry about. I'm still stuck on the height thing. I think Newcastle are looking for 6-foot players, big athletes. Sophie B, 50 to 60 million on Madueke, or 35 to 40 million on Bakayoko, or 50 million on Mbeumo. Good question, Mitch. What would you do? Would you rather pay 50 to 60 million on Madueke, or 35 to 40 million on Bakayoko, or 50 million on Mbeumo?
See, that's my only sole problem with Madueke. If we could get Madueke for 20 million cheaper, then
I'll add to that. Sorry, I'll add to that. Magnus. Now Magnus is going for 40 million euros, so we'll say about 35 million. I'll add to that. I'll add to that as well.
I would go in out of them four. The order would be Magnus, Mbeumo, Bakayoko, Madueke.
Wow. Okay. There you go, Sophie. You let us know what your thoughts are. Oh, I think you might have. Sophie B, that Kubo isn't that good. Don't think Aaron. Sophie, let me know who your right wing mirror is. We'll read a couple more, and we'll go into the into the clips. Sophie B, don't think he would do well in the Premier League either. So I'm assuming you're talking about Kubo from that one. Aaron Kane, if you think, you guys are talking as well to yourself. Let me see if there's any others. There's tons. Oh gosh. Let me go down. Adrian. Adrian Pickett, I get the impression with Ekatike and David is that they see themselves as central strikers, which I think what Mitch was saying, and will choose their next move based on playing that position, hence the congestion problem. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's go into the clips. for Mr. Magnus. You can talk us through it, Mitch. He is a favourite of yours. And mine too, actually. So I got to the Brazil scout. We have to do the Brazil scout.
Yeah, it's got to be Brazil scout.
Interestingly, one thing I forgot to add from the FB ref. So they did obviously they do the comparison who the person is most similar to in terms of stats wise. What did they say for Magnus? There might be a few interesting ones for Magnus in terms of stats wise and profile wise. FB ref matched him to Remy Cabella, if you guys remember. Dejan Kulusevski, who is a favorite of mine, is the profile I think we're looking for. This is for Magnus. Dejan Kulusevski, the second most similar in profile type to Magnus. Remy Cabella's first, Dejan second, Xavi Simons, Christian Pulisic, Enzo Milo, Elise Benoit Seguier from Monaco as well, who plays alongside him. And the seventh most closest to him is Anthony Gordon, which is really, really interesting. So he's looking very much a Newcastle profile type of player. So let me get back onto the here we go on to him. So I thought I'd add that before we go on. All right, so Remy Cabella on here, FBRF got him compared to Di Maria, Mateus Saul, and Canales. Dribbling, flair, passing, technique, ball control, first touch, and creativity are his big strengths. They've obviously this is a compilation from 6 months ago. There's more recent ones for folks if they wanted to look at them, but this one's from 6 months ago. All right. That's him picking it up centrally, first time ball. You can see Isak being on the end of that. Yeah. Great goal. Again, first time ball, goal threat there on the other side. This is obviously from the right side, using his right foot, by the way.
Finish as well, yeah.
Oh, lovely first time ball there. That was him using his right foot. Again, obviously from the right side, good strength. He's tall. I forgot, he's 1.83 m, so he's around 6 foot, 6'1". There you go. Him being again running up teams, passing again with using his right foot to get the. I just want to highlight that because it did make it look like he does use his right foot.
Use it when he needs it, and he's always head up. Like every clip, he'll take a touch or 2 touches, and then his head up again to check where everybody is.
Exactly. And this is him taking up again a central position, getting it off to, I think it's probably right back there. Again, connecting the play, making good decisions. Lovely. Oh, I thought it was going to be a finish there.
First time take it in with his right that time as well.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you were talking about, assists. If you pass a ball like that and the guy misses like that, you can't be blamed for not getting assists if a guy's missing.
Exactly. Yeah, look. Some of the passing that he shows is that the weight of it's good, the positioning of it's good. It makes it easier. Like I've always said for many years, pass appreciation is something that a lot of players lack, and he just seems to have it. He tries to get it there at the right rate, the right weight, rather than just getting it there.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I love the positions he look at that.
Passes in every single compilation.
And I just keep on imagining Isak or Gordon on the end of these, and it's they're gonna absolutely love it to have that. Again, picking it up there, looking for
the 1-2.
Always, exactly. Always looking for that 1-2 when he can get it. Looking to unlock defenses. Lovely play again. Getting it over the line. And it's this, again, centrally. He'll take up the positions, being able to carry the ball. And like I said, that like it was saying in the stats, was his progressive play is really, really good. Either he's going to dribble it out from midfield possessions or central areas. That's him doing his tackling there. Or he's going to pass it out. And for Newcastle, we're one of the few teams in the league who can play really well either on the counter or into counter or transitional play, or when we're in a position we have to break down kind of low blocks, which we're getting better at. We're one of the few teams that can do that, or be in a high pressing style. Not everyone can do that. If you've got teams that are high pressing but can't necessarily counter, and you need players like Magnus who can help you do that. You need players that can pick up look at that outside the boot, lovely jubbly. And guys, I know these are comps and these are highlights, but I've got to watch him, and he is like this. Like, in terms of, like, I'm not saying he pulls it off every time, but his intention is always, always, always to progress the ball, to get the Monaco up the pitch, to connect the midfield with the attack, or to get shot creating actions for his teammates. Like, it is part that is his nature, is who he is as a player. These 1-2s is who he is as a player. Picking up central positions, or always being in a position where whoever picks up the ball, they can progress it forward to him, and being available for that and unlocking defenses. Like, I'm not saying he pulls it off every time. Like, obviously that's what comps are for, highlights are for, but it is his nature. It's the type of player that he is. All right. So
as well, he doesn't do any of his game. He doesn't like when Almiron played for us. Everything was at the same pace.
Yes,
always.
Yes.
Whether he was crossing, whether he was shooting, you never really saw the little slow down before he does what he can do with the ball. And this guy always seems to be in control of what he's going to do. And if the pass isn't on, he slows down, holds it, tries to do another trick maybe, and then plays it. But he always slows himself down before he makes his final decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's extremely hardworking as well. Look at that. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. So, folks, that is Mr. Magnus Akliouche. Let me know what you guys think of him in the chat. Obviously, we're going to talk about Noni Madueke in a moment, but I want you to conclude for us, Mitch. Like, what's your kind of overall thoughts on Magnus? Obviously, we talked about his profile type. We talked about his stats. We talked about his... there was one more thing I wanted to include on him that I've missed out. Well, because of time, I was hoping to compare him to Jacob Murphy. But if you can, because he's a different type of player than Jacob Murphy, for sure. But yeah, Mitch, like, let me know what your overall thoughts, your kind of conclusive thoughts are on Magnus. We've seen his stats, we've seen his profile, we've seen his comp, you've seen him live, I've seen him live. Like, let me know, what's your kind of concluding thoughts on him?
So for me, it brings a whole different dynamic to our attack that will make us a lot harder to defend against. So for me, it's just a no-brainer. It just fits for the money that we're gonna spend on him, for the ceiling that he's got. I know a lot of people, like, if we went and got Umbremo, I wouldn't be upset. This is the guy that I want, because I think Umbremo at the minute, as much as they're a similar-ish age, I think we're seeing his maximum. Whereas with Akliouche, you're seeing that there's a lot of talent there, and he's still playing really well. But I feel like the ceiling's a lot higher, and that seems what we seem to aim for. Not what they're doing in the right now, but how much more they can progress from where they are, and can they go to another level when we go to another level? Because what we don't want to be doing is buying players 2 or 3 years down the line. We want to move to another level, but we bought a player that's at their ceiling, and they've moved us to a point, but they've got nowhere else to go. I think Akliouche is one of them that as we go through the gears, he'll go through the gears. And we've seen it with a few of the players that we've got already. The other thing that it does is that it forces Livramento to improve his end product. Because as we've seen, Akliouche likes to float. He likes to come off the right wing, which will then create loads of space for whoever's playing right back. And as much as we all love Trippier, his legs look like they're starting to wane a little bit, so it's going to be mainly Livramento that plays there, and that is his only weakness for me. If his end product was 10% better, he would be such a harder fullback to play against. Yeah. When he plays on the left, his end product seems to be better than when he plays on the right, which is odd for me.
Maybe because he has to focus a little bit more. You know, when you're in a natural position, you have to focus on your you taking on the ball on your weaker foot, you crossing, so you kind of, maybe that's why it's coming off like that.
I think he thinks about it too much. I think sometimes when you get into them positions as a fullback, you just smash it across the box.
Yes.
Like, don't worry, like, don't try and pick someone out and be pinpoint. Just smash it across the box sometimes. And I think it just annoys me that sometimes he doesn't do it and he takes a touch and it gets shut down and we come back and go again. When all it would have taken, get a nice strong instep on it across the 6-yard line, make it difficult to defend.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'll add as well to Magnus is his versatility. Yeah. So yes, he says right winger, but we've seen from the compilations, and I should have brought his heat map up. He plays across the front three. He can play in attacking midfield, which would again adds another tactical flexibility to us, where we can have two in the pivot, for instance, and with a Magnus in front of them, with the three forwards in front of him. Like, it just gives so much flexibility. And because of his willingness either to carry the ball or to pass the ball, it helps. Sorry, Mitch, go on.
And his passing range and his end product,
yes,
needs to be something that might take a little bit of the weight off of Bruno, because at the minute he's like anything in and around the box, trying to find that clever little pass. It's normally Bruno. So whether it goes out to the left or out to the right, the fullback, it always seems to end up at Bruno's feet when we're looking to create something when teams are sat deep. If we've got someone else that can do that for us, again, it just adds a whole different dynamic to our side, because teams will have to think about different things.
Yeah, and onto that dynamic point is he's the same but also different to Anthony Gordon and Isak. So if I compare to, I know Gordon obviously is similar in profile, especially according to FB Ref. If we're looking at his physicality, he's athletic, he's tall, but he's got technical quality. But he's different to Gordon in a sense of we can see where he's willing to be the connector in that midfield, and that's just natural way of doing. I'm not saying Anthony Gordon has to do that. I'm just saying that that's just the way Magnus is. He's a connector. He wants to be able to drive and bring other players in. That's his way of playing. And if you're Anthony, if you're Isak, you're gonna love that, because maybe then you get to spend a little bit more time in the other end where you can cause the most damage. If anything, Magnus can probably unlock a Harvey Barnes as well, in that sense of thing, where that's not really Harvey Barnes' game. Like, Harvey Barnes isn't going to be doing what we just saw, Magnus doing, picking up the ball, driving with it from midfield, pass. That's not what Harvey Barnes does. It's what Magnus does, though. So it's helpful. We've got a few comments here before we go on to Noni. Sophie B, you did come back with players that you're interested in. Bakayoko and Akliush would be the dream. Can't disagree with you, Sophie. Can't disagree.
Is that both? Bring them both in, or one or the other?
I think she means probably. And would be the dream. Okay. Bakayoko, and I see what you mean. They both play on the right, but yeah, I would assume one or the other. I would assume Sophie, but yeah, one or the other. Let us know. Aaron Cave, but thanks for coming back, Sophie. Aaron Cave, Remy Kabea had so much potential. He did. But
I thought he was going to be an absolute star when he first joined.
So excited when he joined us. Shame it didn't work out. Well, yes, I agree. It's funny watching him play, because I watch Lille a lot, because I watch obviously Jonathan David, but I'm more watching for Hakon Haraldsson. He's a player that plays on their left side. I really like Haraldsson as well. So I watch a lot of Lille games. I agree, Aaron, huge potential. Yeah, that was for Kabea. Yeah, I've seen enough. Sign him. That's for Magnus Akliush. Yes, Adrian. Read a few comments and we'll go to Noni. I know. I feel like I'm going to have to do I'm not going to convince anybody. I'm just going to say this is what Noni's like. I personally like Noni. And Natalie Wilkinson, he looks like he's got pace and intensity. He does, Natalie. He does. I like the look of him. He does. I've had the pleasure of watching him a few times. And like I said, I know comps are comps, they're highlights. But the intention of what he is like that. He is that type of player.
He's one of them players that whoever he's playing against, come the 60th minute, is going to be like, will you stop running?
Yes.
Like, he gets it and he goes every single time.
Absolutely. I can't agree more with that. I don't find too much trouble with his dribbling either. I don't find, but again,
it's not like the most silky dribbling, but it works. It's the way he dribbles, and it's it's not so polished like you see some dribblers. It looks so smooth and so clean.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he does, he makes it look like an accident because it's a little bit ragged. But he knows what he's doing. Like Salah's is a bit like that as well. He doesn't look fully in control. You can't get the ball off him.
Yeah. Close control, like you said, his intention, I feel like he's always looking up. So I don't think he dribbles for the sake of I want to pass 3 players and try and he's not an ASM. Like I will dribble if I have to dribble to progress the ball up the pitch. But if I can pass it, then I will pass it. Like just make sure there's someone to pass to. That's what he strikes me as. Sophie B, actually, she's a talent and would love him at Newcastle. Read a few more. Natalie Wilkinson looks like he reads the game. Well, he does, Natalie. That is a bit I feel like game intelligence is a massive part of his game. Natalie Wilkinson, he oozes confidence. Yes, he does. Lady Sam from TTR, good to see you, Lady Sam. I hope you are well. Always a blessing to have you. All right, Philip, love the show, mate. Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. Big up to yourself. Hey, Sam again. Yep, people welcoming Sam. Good. I will get. Oh gosh. I keep on saying I'm going to move on in a minute, but there's some folks here. I don't even know if I'm going to get to the centre backs today, but you know what? Fair enough. Natalie Wilkinson looks raw, but also looks like Eddie can get his teeth in. Yes, I agree. Into him and bring the best out of him. He's still young, and alongside Isak, just screams goals and assists to me. Yes, I agree. And he's raw, but not to the point where we can't rely. I could still see him playing like 1,000 to 1,500 minutes next season, which is roughly 15, 20 games, like starting type of thing. And look, Murphy isn't out of it. Like Murphy's still a good right winger for us.
Yeah,
he's a good player for Magnus to compete against and to show his talent, who he is. Does that make sense? Without the pressure of, hey, you're starting. Like we've got nobody else. Like you're gonna have to make things happen, Magnus. Here's the Premier League. There isn't that type of thing, which is the best thing for any player, especially coming from a different league. Sophie B, great show earlier. Hope you feel better soon. I think talking to Lady Sam, I think there. Can we borrow him and try him out on a wet and windy night at Stoke? I think you can. I've seen he's not a dainty player. Like he gets physical, and I've seen him playing. He's not shy of getting involved. That's how he strikes me. One more, and the last, Mr. Geordie Z. Good to see you, sir. Always, he's one of the originals, really, for Toon Tactics TV. So I'm always blessed to see him. You've got to remember that Eddie will improve the player by 10 to 20%. Exactly. That's my overriding feeling whenever I see young players. I'm like, yeah, but if Eddie says yes, it means that like I can work. Like this is I can make something here. So and that usually turns out to be the case. So I'm almost to the point with Eddie where if a player doesn't work under him, it's not because of Eddie. It's because of there's something wrong with the player. That's my automatic.
Anyone that doesn't work is not buying into what he wants them to do.
Yes. Yeah, that's maybe that's unfair.
He's got such a good track record for us now that you can't really doubt him over a couple of players here and there.
Yeah,
his track record with improving players is unbelievable.
Exactly. Ask Lewis Hall, ask Tino Livramento, ask Joe Linton, ask Anthony Gordon. Like, the list just goes on.
You can chuck Isak into that because obviously when he came, he had bags of talent and he scored on his debut. But the reality is, the season before he got single-digit goals in Spain.
Yes.
And now he's come where people are talking about him as the best striker in the world. No one would have said that when we signed him. In fact, people were laughing we spent so much money.
Exactly. Look at the team he's playing for.
Yeah, call up.
Exactly.
All this player to make their England debut or something like that.
Exactly. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Next one up, Mr. Controversy himself, Noni Madueke. He definitely doesn't like playing at Wolves. We know that.
I don't think he likes doing anything in Wolves.
But I will say from the beginning, he is one of my favorites, and I think he will suit Newcastle to the ground. But I'm not. This isn't a convinced job. It's just a scouting report. FB ref, and we're gonna, like I said, I used AI to break down some of the FBA stuff. But from the top, Noni Madueke. Oh, actually, let me first go to. I always forget to do this, but I want to go to his profile, to his his like just his age and stuff first before I go into the other stuff. Before I go into his stats, let me get that up. This is Magnus's stuff, so let's change it to Noni Madueke. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. So, can you see that, Mitch?
Yeah, all good.
Excellent. So, very similarly, right from the bat to Magnus, he's 23 years old. He turned 23 just 15 days ago. So him and Magnus are a month apart. Yeah. He's 1.82 meters in height, so 1 meter short, 1 centimeter shorter than Magnus, according to transfermarket.com, and he's also valued at 40 million euros, the same as Mr. Magnus, very interestingly as well. I have to point that out. His contract, we know that Chelsea's death row contracts. he's there until 2030, life without parole at Chelsea. Sorry, Bobby Fairview, if you're there. He's very much in as a right winger. His pedigree is very, very good. He's been playing for England from the under 15s up to the under 16s, 17s, 18s, under 21s, and obviously now for the senior squad. So his international pedigree is excellent, and obviously he's playing for Chelsea, whereas previously he was in the Tottenham Youth Academy before he moved on in 2018. So it was about 8 years ago again. So yeah, I got my maths all wrong. 2018, 7 years ago, 23. So about 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. He was, sorry?
I was just saying 15, 16.
15, 16, excellent. My maths, goodness me. And to think I did the show on finances. So he was doing obviously the academy at Tottenham. Tottenham let him go, which isn't a surprise. And then he went to PSV, under 17s, under 19s, under 21s at PSV. So he spent quite a few years there. Did really, really well there. That's what earned him his move to Chelsea. And they bought him. I thought they bought him from. They did. They bought him for 35 million euros, so around 30 million pounds. Hence why they're asking for a little bit more nowadays. His current stats for the Premier League as of this season, and it's not too dissimilar to last season. So last season he played about 12. Because I remember I did the thing on him. He did about 1,200 minutes last season. This season he's already done 23 games. He's played around this amount of games last season. He's got 10 games to go now. And I think he's had injuries, hence why he hasn't played. But so far this season, he's played about 1,600 minutes. He's played 23 games in the Premier League with 7 goals, 3 assists. So very similar to Magnus in terms of like overall goal contributions and in matches. In cup competitions overall, he scored 1 goal in the FA Cup, 1 in the Conference League, 1 in the EFL Cup, and 1 and 2 in the UCL Is it UCL qualifiers? Yeah, UCL qualifiers. Can't be UCL qualifiers. I forgot what qualifiers it was, but
it must have been for the Conference League.
Must have been for the conference. Yeah, exactly. I almost don't count those because he's playing. So he's done 1,600 minutes overall. So pretty decent. I know he's been injured this season. Usually it shows me straight away how long he's been injured for. Oh, here we go. He's currently out with a hamstring injury and isn't expected to come back till April 25th. So that kind of explains. So I think he would have played a few more games this season had it not been for the hamstring injury. So that's a little bit of background on Mr. Noni, and we'll go into his stats. I mean, so far for you, Mitch, what's your kind of overriding what's your instinctive feeling for Noni? How do you rate him? What do you think of his profile?
I think he's a good player, and I think there's a better player in there than what we've seen. But I think the money that Chelsea would want is going to be obscene for what we're going to get. Like we're going to have to pay them similar to what we paid for Isak for a player that
they're quoted at 50. He's quoted at 50. He's quoted at 50.
Yeah, I still think that's a bit much because it's sort of the reverse of what I was saying about Akliouche. Like all of his end product seems to be rushed, and it just seems that he snatches at things and he drags shots and he does loads of things that are he just seems more erratic. And that's not what I want in someone who I want to score goals and gets assists. You don't want erratic. You want someone calm who's just going to make the right choice and try and play the right pass rather than just getting there and thinking, just doing any kind of madness. The amount of times I've seen him in good positions and he just swings a leg and gets like it's a bobbly shot that dribbles wide and stuff like that. There's something doesn't sit right about him for me. His dribbling is fantastic. I love the way he beats a man. He can go left, he can go right, but it's what he does after that. It frustrates the hell out of me. And he doesn't even play for us. He plays for someone else.
I was going to say he's not even your player.
I know, and it's just annoying because I can see there's so much more in there, but it's kind of it's the way he goes about it that makes me worried that he's never going to smooth that bit of his game out.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not slap 50, 60 million pounds on them because I think as much as Chelsea want 50, if it's us going in for them, and the reality is us and Chelsea this summer are going to be at a very similar level on what we're looking to do and where we are. They're going to add another 10, 15 million pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, but we've got a good transfer record history with them. You know.
Before they wouldn't have looked at us and thought these guys are going to selling them this player is going to push them above us. Until this point now, they never would have thought that about us for many, many a year. So I think we're in that position now that if we're trying to sign players,
they're seeing us more of a threat type of thing. Is what you're saying?
Any Premier League teams that consider themselves in the top 8 are going to have the same thought about us now. That these are going to be a problem if we let this player go.
Okay, excellent. Can you see the screen with Noni at the front?
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm going to get onto the profile stats, but immediately, and it must be a little bit small. Let me zoom a little bit here, but immediately, just from a quick kind of take, he's in the 99th percentile for carries into the penalty area. Like Mitch mentioned, his dribbling, like it's like you can't get any higher, right? He's excellent.
You know what? Before you carry on, his dribbling is very similar to St. Maximum's. It's like top draw, but also like St. Maximum, the end product isn't great once he gets there. As much as I love St. Maximum to bits, they're very similar type of players. I just actually don't think Madueke's as good as St. Maximum.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more effective than Maxi. But let's get into it, because I think Maxi's only scored 16 goals for us in like 3 seasons or something like that.
But that was a rubbish version of us, by the way.
To be fair to Maxi, yeah. I think Steve Bruce, speaking of Steve Bruce, I've got to mention him as well today. I think he would have made Isak look average, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear what Dwight Gale said about it? And I love that, because Dwight is actually a friend of mine, so I love that.
Is he? Yeah. I like the way he said it. Like he's got nothing. He's not gaining anything. He's not at Newcastle. They've interviewed him. They asked him. The only way I can describe that interview is, it felt a bit tragic for me as a Newcastle fan, in the sense of, yes, it's good to hear this and to know, like, you know, where it was, but it's also like it confirms a lot of sad truths about that. It's like it's almost like the team stayed up despite of Steve Bruce. Like we didn't it's not because we didn't stay up because of him, because records will show that he gained the same amount of points as Rafa Benitez. But I think this is because of Rafa Benitez's earlier work with the team and the players that are there and how we played, rather than Steve Bruce. Do you know what I mean? Operating at the same level as Rafa Benitez.
Very highly of his name's gone from my head. Graham
Jones.
Graham Jones. He speaks extremely highly of Graham Jones. From when he came in, he says that's when they actually started to pick up some more points because he was giving players little bits of
actual instructions. He's actually coaching them. Yeah.
And then Bruce sent him to the stands. Do you remember that? Wouldn't let him. Graham Jones used to stand on the touchline, and he sent him up into the stands, so he couldn't do anything.
You know, sometimes when I hear fans of maybe like traditional top 6 clubs complain, I'm like, there's levels to pain.
Yeah. You don't understand how bad.
You don't know the levels, bro.
Like when Tottenham fans complain about Levy, it's just like, no, this guy's really good. This is not a problem, guys. These are first world problems, right?
You haven't had your players doing rehydrotherapy in wheelie bins, right? Yeah. You haven't had that. So anyway, Noni Madueke. The first thing I want to be able to say before I go into in depth into his profile is, like we said, his carries into the penalty box are in the 99th percentile, extremely good. 98th percentile progressive carries, the ability to essentially, progressive carries, for folks know, is different to dribbling. Dribbling is actually like beating a man, side to side, dropping a shoulder type of thing, getting past the player. Progressive carries is taking the ball. I think depending on the stats you use, some use it up to 10 meters or 5 meters. So I don't know what FB refs are, but he's in the 90th percentile. And why I mention that is, again, Newcastle are one of the few teams in the Premier League who can counter-attack on transition, but also play in a high-pressing style. And Noni Madueke is able to do that. Again, very similar to Magnus Akliouche. Very, very high in their progressive carries. He draws a lot of fouls because he's very good at carrying the ball. Bruno does that as well, 97 percentile, which we players that we love. Passes blocked. So again, his work rate is very, very good. So his pressing is exceptional. When we're talking about passing, Chelsea do play a high pressing style as well. So he blocks passes. He's really good at that. He takes touches in the penalty area, 96 percentile. He's very much in that final third. When we're looking to be dangerous, even more dangerous in the final third of the area, Mr. Madueke is your man. He's also very high in his defensive actions. This is in comparison to other wingers, to not other defenders, obviously, to other attacking midfielders and wingers, of which he's in the 94 percentile. So he works very, 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 very hard. Like, for folks to know that his shots total 93 percentile, dribbles. This is dribbles challenged. So this is not him dribbling. This is him challenging other dribblers. Him coming up against other. He's in the 92 percentile. So he's. I don't know if it's got the success rate there, but he is challenging. He's defensively working very, very hard. Total carrying distance. So this is him carrying the ball. We talked earlier about how far does he carry the ball in terms of progressive passing. Total carrying distance is in the 89 percentile. Like, his ability on the ball is phenomenal. That's all I can say. And his work off the ball isn't half bad either, from what the stats are saying and what I feel when I'm watching him. Pass completion rate, this is long passing, 88 percentile. He is also in the progressive passing received. And progressive passing received is what we saw a little bit of Magnus Akliouche do. So essentially, when the ball comes in the final third area, how many times does this person, said attacker, in this case, Noni Madueke, receive the ball? Like we've seen, obviously, Magnus take the ball in the first time, being able to hold off the ball. So it's a very, very key thing to have, especially if you're trying to break down low blocks or you're trying to progress your team up the field. So he's in the 87 percentile, Mr. Noni Madueke. So he's very, very, very high. Percentage of aerial duels won. Aerial duels. He's in the 86 percentile. So he's not bad at heading the ball and winning challenges. The other stuff he's pretty good at. Goals is in the 81 percentile. Shot creating actions, 81 percentile. So there's some real good qualities about Mr. Madueke that I personally like. And if you take aside, and I think maybe the headband has got folks reminded of it. If you want this, people are still doing ASM compilations. Maybe they might see Madueke as the resurrection. But unlike ASM, Madueke's off the ball work is phenomenal. Like, it is very, very good. His strengths are dribbling and penetration. That's very, very clear from his stats. Exceptional in carries into the penalty in the penalty area. Dribbles challenged. Attacking output again is very, very high. High in shots, total shots, goal creating actions from fouls drawn. Progressive play, so again similar to Akliouche as well. So his ability to carry the ball and to pass the ball, so strong in progressive carrying, 96th percentile, and progressive carries there, and also long passing, excellent in long pass completion, 87th percentile. His weaknesses though are defensive contributions, so low in touches in the defensive penalty area. I don't see why that's a weakness. Like, he's not going to be in the penalty. It depends what stats you're reading, because with AI, it's reading everything, right? So for me, it's not a problem. Like, you don't want I don't want to see Isak in our box, right? I want to see him in the opposition box. So it's not such a big problem for me. Goal creating actions from defensive actions. Again, those are kind of essentially what that means is, when they tackle someone, does that create a shot creating action? Like you catch someone trying to bring the ball out of the back type of thing. Aerial duels, below average in aerial duels 1. I don't know why that's below average if it's on 86th percentile. So I don't get that, indicating weakness in aerial challenges. So I don't get that part. Consistency, moderate in errors. So he does create errors at 76th percentile. And tackles attempted, so he can get tackled. Like, it's not every time he dribbles, he never gets tackled. He can, but that's part of the risk that you're going to have with players that you give the responsibility to carry the ball, to pass the ball. They're going to have areas, or they're going to have sometimes high percentage of losing the ball, for instance. So his overall profile is that he's attacking midfielder or / winger. Again, just like a Magnus Akliouche, his playing style is direct, is very, very direct. Anybody's watched him play. Attacking winger who thrives in one-on-one situations, absolutely. Focusing on dribbling into dangerous areas and creating shooting opportunities. So his key traits are high shot volume. I wish it was a bit more also high passing to the striker volume, because it's like, we'll hate that. Excellent at progressing the ball through carries, and effective in drawing fouls to create chances. Areas to develop: needs to improve his defensive work rate. Again, I need to work out what that is, what they mean by that, when he's doing all the other stuff. But maybe that's something to look at, while refining consistency in decision making, take on. So when he does bring the ball to the opposition end, and I'm sure Mitch, you kind of alluded to it, is he passing when he should shoot, or is he shooting when he should pass? Those type of things would, like you said, the frustrations in that will kill you. I don't think it's something that can't be worked through. I think that's something that Eddie Howe can definitely work through. But before we go to his compilations, Mitch, what's your kind of, after kind of seeing that, what's your kind of thoughts on Madueke from that?
It kind of sums up what I would say about him to a certain respect.
Mm-hmm.
But because my biggest worry about him is just the end product. I think Isak would very quickly get frustrated with some of the madness he does when he gets into good positions, because he gets frustrated with our wingers now, and our wingers are actually quite good at finding him a lot of the time. Whereas I don't think Madueke would be anywhere near as good as him. For me, the best thing Jacob Murphy has done over the last 18 months is develop a great relationship with Alexander Isak.
Yeah.
And he knows how to find him quickly and the passes to play to get the ball to him, which has kept Jacob Murphy in the team, in my opinion. I don't think Madueke's got that same thing about him. I don't think he really. I think he's one of them players that is a little bit all about him.
I've got a hypothesis. I'm going to use a long word that already shows I'm trying to cover up from Donny. I think because of the environment at Chelsea, and I've got the injury record up here because Nolly's injury record, but I think because of Chelsea's environment, i.e., they've bought super talents from across Europe, 15, 20 players. We've seen the pictures of their gym being packed. Like there's no space for people to work. They haven't got enough space in the change rooms and stuff like that. The competition is overly competitive. That someone like a Noni, in order to keep his place in the first team, you are being a bit more greedy with the ball. You're trying to get your goals up rather than your assists up. You're playing more for yourself than you are for the team.
That's kind of the problem. That's a mentality thing. That's not a talent thing. Like Jacob Murphy could have gone down exactly the same route. Right, let's make it all about me. Let's try and get as many goals as I can possibly can to keep myself in the team. But that does not suit the team. And he's done the exact opposite. He's adapted his game ever so slightly to make sure that he makes all the right decisions that are best for the team. And that's what we need. The players that are a little bit more talented than what we've got, but are still making the decisions based on the team. We don't really even Isak isn't all about Isak. And he's ridiculously good. And he's one player that a lot of players in any team would be like, okay, he's taken a shot there when he should have passed, but it is Alexander Isak.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done so well. Everybody buys into that. Everybody in our squad that plays and contributes buys into that. And if you don't, you're not going to fit. And that's one of the biggest worries with Madueke.
Guys in the chat, let me know. Sorry, go on, Mitch.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for they and I'd imagine our recruitment team have got similar worries. To spend that amount of money, you can't have that many worries about it. You've got to be pretty certain on it.
All right, well, guys in the chat, let us know what you think about what around what Mitch said about Mr. Noni Madueke and all the other stuff I've spoken so far about his stats and everything else. What's your thoughts on Noni? Natalie, and you've asked a really, really good question, Natalie, around injury record. I don't do this enough, actually. It's something I need to do, is to look at players' injury records. And I think you're referring to Noni's, because obviously he's currently out of a hamstring injury, which has been out is due out for 48 days, is due to come back April the 2nd, so after this international break, and he would have missed 7 games. His injury record at Chelsea so far, on top of this one, is only 48 days. This time around, 4 days previously for being ill, 14 days again for unknown injury. In 23-24, the muscle injury for 9 days. Previously at PSV, he was away for 82 days and missed, it looks like 20 games for an ankle injury. So he's got a few, 25 days previously for muscle injury again, 8 games missed, 9 games missed at PSV. For muscle injury, a lot of muscle injuries, which is a worry. 21-22, again, 6 games missed for muscle injuries. Again, 8 games missed for a knock. And 21-22, just two games missed again for minor knocks and minor knocks. So I think it's how many muscle injuries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously include the hamstring, which is a muscle injury, 6 so far in his career. So quite a bit there, Natalie. I don't know what average is for players, but to me that comes across as quite a bit. I don't know what your thoughts are, Mitch. While you let me know, I'm going to look for some comps. Look for the comp for Mr. Madueke.
Well, if you look at a few of our players, they'd be a lot worse than that. It's a hard one to judge when you don't know the exact injuries of what's gone on with a player, because like every player picks up injuries here and there, and you don't really know until they're at your club, unfortunately. Unless someone's got a terrible record, you're not really gonna find out how bad that injury record's gonna be until they're in your system and doing the training the way you train and the way you play and stuff like that. So
right, that's what you mean. Yeah.
So it's a hard one to judge, because I wouldn't say that's a terrible injury record, but I would say it is slightly worrying because there's so many muscles. But I reckon you could look at most players and it'd be very similar amount of days over the last, say, 4 or 5 years, whatever that was.
I agree, and I think, look, it took James Bunce to come into our squad to get some sort of handle for our team. I don't know what Chelsea's is at. I don't know how that works for them, and so I can definitely see where you're coming from. And my hope is, not just for Noni, but for any player, is that would obviously be a lot different in the positive when they come to our team. So, guys, I'm not going to be able to look at the defense. I was going to do, but I had a lot of fun looking at players, our attacking options next time. But it gives me another series to do for our defensive guys. So let's see Noni's comp. Can you see that, Mitch? Let me see.
Yeah.
Excellent. And let's get some comments in. This is when was this done? 3 months ago? So it's relatively new. It's not Brazil Scout. Brazil Scout, I haven't done one recently on him, so I didn't want to include that. The last Brazil Scout one was when he was at PSV, Eindhoven. But let me also, something interesting as well, before I go here, I wanted to show you, is this Magnus's? That's Magnus's. I wanted to show you, Mitch, and to the chat, who Noni has been compared to statistically in profile similarities to on FB Ref. So Luis Diaz as number 1, obviously from Liverpool. Leroy Sane, Bradley Bacola, Kingsley Coman, Harvey Barnes, 5th. Harvey Barnes, Kvisha Kvaratskhelia, currently at PSG, Rafael Leao, Cody Gakpo, Rodri, and Donny Almo. But obviously in the top 5, that includes Harvey Barnes, whereas obviously Magnus Aklusha is compared to Anthony Gordon. Suffice to say, Mr. Noni Madueke is in very good company.
He's in crazy good company. I'm not sure how loose these comparisons are, but that is a good list of players.
So they compare all the metrics, like all the stuff that we talked about, and that's where he's at. All right, so let me make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. All right, brilliant. So take away Mr. Noni. Obviously playing predominantly right wing for Chelsea. That's him picking it up on their end. That's his ability there. He connects. That's him against us. So that's his ability to dribble. Again, really close to his feet. You don't know where he's going.
The first thing that has stuck out to me in this compilation, is that most of the clips cut off before he tries to play the ball. So you see him beat a man and then nothing. It's just like the clips cut off. We've seen a few more shots and crosses now, but the first 5 or 6 was he beat a man.
Yes. No, I know what you mean. Strength. That's part of his defensive contributions there for the team. We talked about that earlier. Left, that's him using in all of these clips. He's either using the left side or the right, or the left. I wonder if he's both.
We're kind of back to it now. We're seeing a little bit of good play and then nothing.
Excellent there again against us. Cutting across there. You see, lovely there. Oh, did he miss? He missed there. That's him against Palace.
Both of them.
This is meant to be highlights. I think
Is this meant to be the good bits?
What I like though is the intention behind it. And again, they could have got a whole load of clips for any player where they missed. They could have just got clips where the end result is always a goal or an assist. But I think what they does is showing his threat level and what he's doing. Lovely connection there with Palmer as well. He can go either side, on the left or the right. That's what makes him so dangerous. Him being on the ball backs players away. Again, I constantly think about his connection there. Again, Palmer. I forgot to mention that he played with Anthony Gordon for England, and when they in the under-23s when they won the European Championship with James Trafford, another player obviously the goalkeeper that we're looking at as well. So you might see a reunion there. That's the miss. Mitch is like thinking, "What is this? This is the lowlights of the highlights."
Yeah, I don't feel this compilation is doing him any favors. To be honest, I genuinely don't.
This is him at Wolves. I think he scored 4 goals in this. Or was it a hat trick? He scored.
This is where they beat him 6-3, and he got a hat trick and 2 assists. Crazy like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
This is what I mean. It's just erratic. It is so erratic. It's like it's the complete opposite of what we were saying about Akliouche. When he gets into a position to play a pass or take a shot, he sort of slows down his body ever so slightly and makes sure he makes good contact and he picks the right option. But this is what I mean. This is what I'm saying. He's so good at getting into good positions, but he's so rash.
The ad break came in time there.
I think we all needed a break. But this is what I was saying. It's just so rash at times.
So the shot selection isn't the best sometimes. Again, I think it's something that can be worked on. And I don't know how much one-to-one any player at Chelsea's getting, because there's just so many players, right? So for instance, Lewis Hall gave up his take on how he's been working with Eddie Howe, and he was to the point where, obviously, before he was in the first team, I don't know if you saw that quote where he thought they worked with me so much that he thought that they thought he was just rubbish.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. Like he had to ask them, like, do you think I'm rubbish? And like, no, like you're so amazing, you're so good. We've got so much potential for you. This is why we're doing this. This is what we naturally do. I don't know if any player at Chelsea is getting that level of attention that Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, any of these young players are getting. Do you know what I mean?
Think they are, but like these were like super young players when they came in that needed, especially Lewis Hall, because he was a centre midfielder that had only really just been adapted into left back, so he needed a lot of work. Whereas I feel our right wing signing this season, they don't have to be the complete finished article, but they shouldn't have to be a 6 months till they're ready to start kind of guy. It shouldn't take that long for our right wing signing. Yes, we do need a couple of lows for the squad, but that shouldn't be our right wing signing. We need someone to come in and be able to rotate in and out of the team instantly. Because I feel someone like Osula is the player that they're kind of polishing to play multiple rows across the front line. So I don't think we should buy another one. We need to polish it.
I would say that we bought Anthony Gordon in January. He didn't get going until the first game of the season in the next season. And he had to have an England tournament to do that. So it's not unusual for that to happen. Same with Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento are even longer. Granted, they're younger. But it's not... it is fairly common for Newcastle to have that. And the point of having a Jacob Murphy there, obviously he's not going to be there forever, is to give the likes of, whether it's Noni, whether it's Magnus. Magnus isn't going to come into... Everyone knows how Eddie... It took Bruno Gomes, we know, like 10 plus games to be really a first teamer where everybody can see after the first couple of games that, hey, no, this guy's he's ready to take over from Shelby, right? So I take the point because we need someone to start and to rotate. Noni can do that. So God forbid if Jacob had an injury that took him out for a few weeks, several weeks, Noni's already got 2 years, by this point, 2 years of Premier League experience. He can play in the Premier League. It's pretty much plug and play for him. But if you got the ideal scenario where Jacob is fit, then you then got a bit more time on the training pitch with a Noni, between Eddie and Noni, to kind of to work on these other things to see how the team plays. And there's not just Noni, it'll be Magnus Akliouche as well. Magnus even more so than Noni, because Magnus has never played in the Premier League before. So I would say it's and with the players that we're looking for, that's why I don't think we're going to get an Mbeumo.
I think Mbeumo is pretty primed to be Salah's replacement.
I don't even think he's that good.
I don't think he's amazing, but I think the way he plays and the way he moves is so similar that I think Liverpool will go down that route. But they'll change up the way their attacks spread out, because Salah is like 70% of their goal contributions or something this season. I think it'll be a lot more shared out going forward, so they'll go for someone like Mbeumo to do that.
And, you know, Anthony Gordon, he was on 5 goals. His best return for Everton was 5 goals before he came to Newcastle. Previous season at Isak obviously was at 6 goals for Real Sociedad. And I just think with a bit more time, with a bit more nurturing, whether it's Magnus, obviously we're speaking about Noni, I think those things that we've seen before can be ironed out. And I think Newcastle, if you're a young player, if you're a young and ambitious player, when I say ambitious, you see yourself as, I can really reach the top. I can, in terms of the best version of myself, I can reach the top. I think Newcastle is one of the best teams to come to.
To be fair, the chat has made a few good points, like about his attitude and the fighting over the penalty type of stuff, and him being dropped by previous managers because of his attitude and bits like that. So if that's a worry, I think it's something that our team will go away from, because we do seem to sign players that are very good with the one team mentality type of thing.
Let's get into it. I've got 5 minutes or so. I'm not going to do the centre backs today, guys. Again, so I'll get it next time. So yeah, we'll talk about the injury record. Aaron Kane, Akliouche is a very good player, but have concerns about him putting crosses in from the byline yet because of his weaker right foot. I think it would work if Tino gets better delivery off the ball. Yeah, so kind of doing the overlaps, that makes sense. Adrian Pickett, we should hire. No, Solana to mentor Tino. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Sophie B. A 0 final decision. I think this must be Noni. Ball greedy and a brat. Why I think Madueke is okay, yeah, and not worth the money Chelsea would want. Fair play to you, Sophie. I think you said there was a Bakayoko and Magnus Akliouche who like. Fair play. Prem Time TV. Hey Philip and guest hope, it's Mitch. We need to get you on. When you signed on, Mitch didn't ask you for your name.
Yeah, no, my name's on there. I think you need to just put the banners on or whatever they're called. I think there's
I'm sorry for that. Big time sorry for that. Prem Time TV. Hey Philip, guest Mitch, which is Mitch. Hope you're both well. Yes, sir. It's formally Keeping It Toon. Okay, good to see you, sir. Keeping It Toon YT just rebranded. Good to see you, sir. Hope you are well. Sophie B, most of his GA came against Wolves. Sophie, you're like, anybody but Sophie, if Madueke gets signed.
To be fair, I was going to say a similar thing on my initial point on Madueke, but I did the same with Kluivert last week. I didn't want to recycle the same point for someone else.
If Madueke and Kluivert get signed, I feel like I'm going to have to do a. I'm sorry, but I was right. Adrian Pickett, Sophie B, you're a wrecking ball when it comes to Madueke. Indeed. Adrian Kane, I think if Eddie gets his hands on Madueke, he would be a monster for us. I fully agree with this. Chelsea are a mess of a club, and Eddie will get him playing consistently. Yes. Sophie B, I just can't see it, and I just don't really like his play, to be honest. Nothing against the person, just don't like him as a footballer. Fair play. Sometimes there's just players like that. I think, who was I thinking about recently that had a similar feat. Maybe Mbeumo. I think I mentioned I don't like his numbers. Everything speaks for himself. But for Newcastle, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't think he fits us. I think he's a little bit like Harvey Barnes, just on the other side.
That's exactly. Aaron Kane, Madueke, not for me. For me, though, after all that, Aaron, see that you don't like him. All right, Madueke, not for me though, but wouldn't be against signing him because we haven't signed anyone in 3 windows. Fair play. Sophie B, I would rather not sign anyone. Oh gosh, all right, I get it, Sophie. Madueke or no one, I'm choosing no one. All right. Aaron Madueke strike me as an Anthony Gordon before we signed him. Sophie B, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, just not for me personally. No, absolutely. And that's what we want. It's all opinions. Prem time, if Bruce was still with us and had Isak, would try to trade him for someone rubbish. That's true. I can see that happening. Like when we had when he was at Villa, tried to trade Grealish for Jordan Rhodes. Is that true? Oh my word! Oh my word! All right, Adrian Pickett, Jordan Rhodes was a cracking. Oh yeah, I'm laughing because I can see that being true. Sophie B, yeah, he can carry it into the box, then it's into the side netting or wherever. Well, the compilations did show that, and that's meant to be positive compilation. The mighty win, good to see you, sir. Hey Philip, you back down to earth yet? No, I'm still in space, definitely. Like I'm still in trophy space. It will take a while to get down from there. Sophie B, stat merchant, terrible by the eye. Natalie Wilkinson, my worry with Noni is his complacency. Does he have the work rate? I think he does, Sophie. I think some of the stats do show that he does have the work rate for it. It's just what Enzo Maresca kind of, I think, is doing it on a consistent level, match to match. My theory is that I think Chelsea's a terrible environment for that to happen. And Mitch, I know that we're going past midnight as well, so do feel free if you want to jump off at any point.
No.
I just want to, yeah, excellent. But the chat is going strong. People are here, so I'm going to make sure I finish the chat this time. Prem Time TV, right wing for me has to be Mbeumo. He has speed, skill, strength. He's the answer and problems more affordable than Madueke. And I can't argue with a lot of that, what you said, Prem Time TV. He's just, I think we just need, we looked at Trincao, for instance, in the last show, Prem Time. Me and Mitch Tidd, that's one of the players that we do actually agree on that we really like. And it's his ability to hold the ball, the way he dribbles as well, including actually Magnus Akliush we like as well. But I don't see Mbeumo. Do you know what I mean, Mitch? Like in terms of like, I don't know if there's a type of dribbler.
He's a fantastic player, but it's not. Like, we need someone who's a little bit more creative. Who's it's more like he can just create something from nothing at times. One of them players that is a little bit more technical, that they can break the lines with a pass, slip a little through ball through, so it's not so weighted on Bruno to team sit in against us.
But also, I feel like someone that can help us hold the ball, that technical quality. Because sometimes, like you said, if we don't have Bruno, or thankfully we've got Bruno Tonali now, but if we don't have those guys, it feels a bit difficult. And I feel like I'm going to do a little bit better. And having a technical player, Magnus, a Trink, I think the Trincao is the upper end of that. Yeah, it would be great. Mighty win. Go on, mighty win. I wouldn't turn my nose up at Madueke, exactly. But, okay, everyone has a but for Madueke. But rather have a Bowen or Mbeumo. Aaron Cave, to be fair to Madueke, Chelsea aren't a proper team, but would definitely look elsewhere. Yeah, fair play. Mighty win, what do you think about his attitude? It's the same thing for Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon wasn't great. I honestly think they're young. When we've got Anthony, when we've got a lot of the players, they're young. They have they make stupid decisions like I did when I was young, or they say certain things. I honestly think that Newcastle provide, and I'm not saying that it's going to be 100% right, but it's just proven to be the case for the majority of players that are coming. The only person I can think of was Ryan Fraser, and Ryan Fraser had that historical beef with Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe has shown consistently forgiving him, like when he refused to play for Bournemouth and stuff like that. So well, that's my kind of feeling about it. Sophie B, folks talking to Sophie B, I have said enough. I just don't rate him. I get you, Sophie. I'm not buying him. Just to let you know, I promise you, I'm not going to buy him. Paul Mitchell's not asking for my opinion. That's for sure. I've said enough. I just don't rate him at all. Much better play with a better attitude. Fair play. Would you have said that though? If you're honest, hand on heart, Sophie, would you have said that about Anthony Gordon when we first bought him and he was getting chased out of Goodison Park because he refused to turn off training?
Do you know what? The only difference, the reason I like Gordon when we signed him was because he's got that little bit of grit and determination about him, and you can see it in the way he plays. Yeah, you also could see he's a bit of a rat, but you could see it was all about winning football matches. Why he was a bit of a rat. It wasn't because he had an ego or anything like that and thought he was better than anybody else. It's just how he was trying to win games, and I appreciate that. Like the way he was stuck up for his team against Shah and stuff like that. I appreciate that in players.
No, I can see exactly what you mean. I can see exactly what you mean. Sophie B, yes, all about him. Couldn't put it better myself. I think that's maybe Mitch's earlier comment. Hypothesis is queen of hypothesis is what I said earlier about my hypothesis for Noni Madueke. My thesis is that it's all right, guys. My thesis is that high pots are harder to. All right, fine. I get it. You guys don't like Madueke. Goodness me. Do you know what? Honestly, if we buy Madueke, I'm going to do a full show. The signing. We might have bought we might have bought Trincao, all the other players that we talked about. I'm focusing because I know it's going to be about Madueke. All right. Prem time, only reason Murphy has had to adapt and to be as good as he has been is because we have no other natural wing in the team. Since Miggy left, Murphy's on his own. I don't know if he's had to adapt because that sometimes a player with a worse attitude, when you know there isn't anybody competing for you, when you know you're going to get chosen because there's nobody else, why adapt? Why even change? Why work harder? I'm going to be playing anyway. And for me, because Murphy has adapted, it's because it's exactly what Mitch said earlier. He's there for the team. He's there for Newcastle. Like, honestly, he would, if you put him at right back, put him at goal, you got that feeling about Murphy. Like, he will do what he can to be the best version of himself, no matter what position he plays. That's the honest vibes that I get from Murphy. Whether there's competition there or not. Natalie Wilkinson, I can see him clashing with Isak. Ooh, possibly.
I actually think they'd get on really well. I think personality-wise, away from football, they'd get on really well.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the interview with Dean Hoysen. I was going to show. Like, there's a lot of people players that surprise me how they talk and what they're like when you see them. I don't know if you saw Dean Hoysen. Have you seen Dean Hoysen?
I haven't seen Hoysen yet.
He could he's talked like he's from London. Honestly, and because they were having a laugh. The interviewers are having, and he's quite humble. Like, they were having a laugh about his. The interviewers are having a laugh about his the way his facial expressions are. So they were laughing because he looks like he's high. I thought he looks a bit like he's aloof, like constantly. Yeah. But he said, "Look, guys, like, these are my eyes." Like, and when he's talking like that, that's how his eyes are. Like, and if you ever get a chance to look at Dean Hoysen pics, I was going to talk about, spoiler alert. I was going to talk about Dean Hoysen. His eyes are like some people it looks like he's high. For me, it looks like he's aloof. Like I'm just there. But guys, that's literally he can't change his face. That's how his face is. So if he had a negative vibe or a funny vibe about him, it's just the way he is. So, and he's got a London, like he's from London.
It's like when I first, like, loads of people, when they first heard him speak, I would just see loads of comments underneath videos. It's like, did he learn English from Top Boy and stuff like that?
We've got, yeah, exactly. Queen of Heart, flexible yet adaptable, hands yellow, heart red. What? Sophie B, one team, one dream, not Madueke. All about Madueke. All right. Prem Time TV, we really need a right winger, as no improvements in the last 3 windows except for 90-year-old, 80-year-old Roddy, who should have never been given a contract with us. Well, to be fair, I think City have got an even older keeper. I forgot the job. Is it Carson or Carson?
Oh, Scott Carson, yeah.
Scott Carson. He's like 48 or something. And that's just all about the English home. I
think there's 2 bits to that. It could be something to do with the homegrown, but it's also a lot of teams do it now to have 4. So that when they do small-sided football matches, they haven't got like a goalie coach, or they don't have to steal someone from the youth team, so they can have 2 full teams with proper goalies in all the goals.
Exactly. Even though I've got Roddy to leave, I wouldn't be surprised if he renews his contract for those reasons. I'll try just to add his injury record. Sophie, I've got to apologise at the end of the show for having Madueke on. Natalie Wilkinson, muscle injuries is a worry with the way we play. Yeah, we are an athletic team. So is Madueke. I think you said it earlier, Mitch. It'll be interesting to see how he does under our medical team and with our staff. Aaron Kane, with injury-prone players, fitting well at Newcastle. We also need players to rotate. We do. From Queen of Heart, Natalie Wilkinson, does he have the athleticism, the capability to run his heart out? That's a good question. I think he does. Natalie Wilkinson.
It's more mentally, has he got it?
It's the mental aspect, yeah. Natalie Wilkinson, our ethos is players who try to do their best no matter what. Adrian Pickett, very respectable company in terms of Nonny. Who's Nonny with again?
That was the list that had Sane and
Coleman.
Danny Olmo and all players like that.
He was in good company. Natalie Wilkinson, he got Godspeed. He might just not like New. He didn't like Real. I hope he does. Mob Bose. So I don't know if you're first to the channel, Mob Bose, but you are welcome. Forgive me if you've been here before, but I hope you're well, and you are most welcome. The mighty win. Look at Gordon's contemporaries and see who he's compared with. That's a good question, actually. Let me quickly look at that. Anthony Gordon. We've got Anthony Lopez. Wrong Anthony. Anthony Gordon. Who is it being compared with? Let me tell you. Anthony Gordon is being compared with, on FBref, number 1. I can see why you've asked me this. Number 1, Kvaratskhelia from PSG. And then is Pulisic. 3rd is Bukayo Saka. Then it's Nico Williams. Then is Eze. 6th is Heung-min Son. 7th is Ketele from Atalanta. 8th is Magnus Akliush. And 9th is Savio. And number 10 is Dharma Traore. We'll leave out the 10th one.
Whoa.
But that's some good company
for
Mr. Gordon. And it's some very, I can see what you mean now, Mike Win. That's some very illustrious company. I don't know what you think about that, Mitch. Did Sophie make this video? Sophie, can you confirm the rumours that you didn't make the video from Madueke, just to confirm? Sorry, Mitch. What do you think of that company from Mr. Gordon?
It's a great list, to be fair. It's a great list. Until you said Traore, I was all on board, and then it was like, well, that one's a bit left field.
So Sophie B literally highlights what it was said exactly. I think between Sophie B and Mitch, that's who made the highlights for Madueke. That's my conspiracy theory. The mighty win. I think you've been entranced, Philip. Possibly, very, very possibly. Remember, that's his absolute best bits. It's true. That is, and I'm open to that. I am open to that. There are players that I really, really like. Natalie Wilkinson, this compilation isn't selling for. Oh, this must be during the compilation. Oh my word! I don't know, guys. I'm really trying to get prime time. Think Madueke should go to Man United. Oh gosh! Anyhow, he goes to Madueke. Madueke goes to Man United and he gets 20 GA. I'm coming back on the show for you guys. Mitch is right when saying he's erratic. That's Natalie Wilkinson. Does he have the right attitude? Great question. Sophie B, did you not see him fighting with his It's true, with his teammates at the penalty he won, then got subbed off. He stopped playing after he didn't take it. Yes, I did. And again, yes, I was vexed when seeing that, especially when he's not the penalty taker. He is young. He is young. I'm gonna put it down to that. Natalie Wilkinson seems like he throws his toys at the pram. Wow. That was what I'm saying with his mentality. No, I can see that. Ginger Hoskins, Philip, have you looked at Sani Lamas? Oh, the goalkeeper. Yeah, he's the top young goalkeeper with Prem 1, and our names popped up. He's 22 and Belgian won the kid at Antwerp. Yes, he has popped up. I was going to talk about. I'm more chilled at talking about goalkeepers a little bit, maybe for the wrong reason, but only because I feel like from the report from Craig Hope and other, if you notice, journalists have kind of, in general, our top tier ones especially, have stopped talking about goalkeepers. And I just think it's because that one is pretty much a done deal.
Fun, yeah.
Right. Apologies, guys. I'm gonna whiz through to the bottom, and because I've never done the show this long before, but it's because you guys have been so amazing, and the chats have been booming. I didn't realize Madueke could be so popular. Have I ever done a profile on him before? I would have remembered because I've never had a player. We've talked about many players. I've never seen so much about one player. Sophie B. Gordon had a different kind of attitude. You could tell he wanted to be the best, not I am. It's all right. I can't wait. It'll be the best thing ever now for Madueke to get signed. I expect my views to be through the roof for our show on that one. Sophie B, I will wait at the training ground the corner and take him back to London for a fitness test. All right, John Boy. All right, Sophie. John Boy, 57. Murphy has played his heart out and he's stuck it to all the hate. Murphy, he has. Brilliant to see. I agree. Natalie Wilkinson, I mean, not clashing personalities. I mean, their relationship on the pitch. Okay, on the pitch. So I don't know, Mitch, Natalie was referring to their relationship on the pitch rather than off the pitch. Like,
yeah, I think Madueke would frustrate the hell out of is that 100%.
Final two comments. Natalie Wilkinson, Isak just wants to walk his dogs and get centre backs numbers. He doesn't want any complications. Don't complicate what he's doing at the moment. I understand. Ginger Hoskins, behave. Gordon doesn't get the numbers of any of those top players. Maybe his rank is for just running. Oh, okay. So you have to make your argument with FB Ref Ginger Hoskins. It's not me saying this. Like literally, it's on FB Ref who are very detailed. A lot of the guys, the scouts that you see on who use that, they say his metrics match to those guys. They're not saying he has their track record and the trophies and everything else, but his metrics are similar to those guys. So it is what it is. Final comment from Sophie B. I have to leave it with Sophie B because you've been absolutely amazing. Great great show. Great show as always, Philip. Thank you so much. And great guest, Mitch. Everyone smash the likes and subscribe. If you're new, great channel, great content. Thank you so much, Sophie. That means a lot. That means a lot. And this is the longest show, but it was so much worth it because of money and everything you guys have been saying. Mitch, do you let folks know about where they can find you, about your channel, before we wrap up? Yeah, let folks know.
Cool. You can find me on a channel called Where the Owls Sleep. We also do football content. It's not focused on Newcastle. It's more, we try and do more niche subjects this week. This Sunday at 9, we're going to do a quiz. Last Sunday, we did what we're calling a spotlight show. We've got a Bolton fan who's a regular. We put him in the spotlight, talked about his club, all his experiences. We're going to do them now and again for all the other guests. So we've got Southampton, Tottenham, West Ham, and Newcastle to get through as well. So, yeah, come have a look. Where the Owls Sleep.
Excellent. You guys heard it here first. Make sure you join Mitch on Where the Owls Sleep. Guys, you've been absolutely amazing in the chat. And for the folks that have been with us all the way past midnight, I had a great. I had centre backs to talk about. I was meant to talk about last time, but we had such a good time talking about these right wingers and getting Mitch's point of view and getting you guys in the chat. We had to spend the time because it was really, really good conversation. Mitch, as always, it's been absolutely impeccable. The chat love you, and the channel, all the folks in the chat that really love you coming around. Hopefully, we can get you to continue coming on the show as well. And guys, as always, make sure you look after each other. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, guys, God bless and take care.